So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Here we are at this online CBCT community, um, which meets daily. And today is my turn to guide us all through a little bit of practice uh, to try to cultivate all the good emotions that people have shared with us a moment ago. uh, Gratitude, nurturing, determination, and to try to keep at bay those emotions that are not so great, which are, like I said, also part of the human experience. And so the topic today, self-compassion, is very relevant for that. And I was saying, I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed, and it's interesting because you may expect this is related to my health, but it is not. Well, it is, but mm, it is rather indirect. As people ask me how I feel, when will I have surgery, what will happen next, I um, tell everyone, yes, I am this person with cancer, but I am much more. And I want to advertise here. I'm actually throwing a big party for Halloween. This is who I am as well, and I totally understand people's concern and people's care. Uh, and but I also want to make an effort to vindicate all those other parts of me. And so, to keep up with all these uh, can be a little bit overwhelming at times. I get the love and I get the attention. And so, what does self-compassion do for me in these circumstances? And coming from modules 1 and 2, we already have the strategy to redirect our attention and occupy ourselves with a certain activity that is going to, just by the virtue of staying busy, make us feel better. That is already the case with attention stability and clarity. You focus your attention on something and you find some peace. But stimuli keep on coming, and and sometimes that is not enough. And in addition to redirect your attention, you can just hold what it is and face it and see all these questions, all these emails, and all those thoughts and your own feelings, and see them for what they are. And often, sometimes, they actually dissipate by just acknowledging they are there and they are not permanent and they don't define me. And it's just my state at some point. And as soon as I go to the online space of CBCT practitioners, I already feel better. So much for emotions that distress us. They don't last. They don't. Um, but that is not sometimes enough either. And I think it is very helpful to go into the analytical practice and have a plan, have a structure for yourself, for your life. Um, and that plan, of course, starts with what it is that you want, what it is, and watch out for that. But we start there. We indulge ourselves, and in whatever it is that we dream about, that we desire. This is how self-compassion starts, and this is the question I often ask, clients in my sessions, or also, students in the practice. What it is that you want out of this session, out of this time, out of today, out of your life. Dream away. It is so important, and we don't often stop to think what it is that would make us happy if we had a magic wand. Uh, that is just the starting point. Obviously, I say, well, watch out for that. Um, it's important before I explain what I mean by adding this note of caution, although we welcome it and embrace it, but we are gonna work on that. Before I go there to this note of caution, I want to say it's important to know a little bit about what you want, who you want to be, um, to to walk on the ground solidly, to at least have an idea of who you are or who you want to be in this world. And I think that empowers us. We often feel disempowered by what other people think we want, by what other people think we need. And they are not perfect, neither we are, but the more we know a little bit about what we dream about, uh, the 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 better we will feel, and actually uh, the, the more fulfilling our relationships with them, because we'll bring to them our honest selves, the authenticity that we crave for. So, and this is in the context of my situation with cancer, and understanding that people are concerned, and they are concerned for my health and for my life. But I also insist on being more and throwing this party, to which, by the way, you're all invited. Go to my website. It will be a fun occasion with a professional DJ, but not to go to divert it from this topic. So, what is the caution with all that? The caution is the difference between expectations and hopes. Hopes guide our life. Again, they allow us to walk solidly on the ground. Expectations give a very specific form and shape to whatever we want, and they're likely to become obsessions, and likely to become real. And if they do, watch out for that, because that will only increase the obsession. And the difference is very easily understood when we think of an addiction. And an addiction is not enjoying, let's say, alcohol or anything. Uh, uh, an addiction is actually suffering when you don't have it. This is the abstinence syndrome that comes with every drug and other addicted behaviors. When you are able to enjoy yourself if you have something, and you are able to enjoy yourself if you don't, we say in psychology, you're not addicted. This is the difference. The expectation, actually, I was reading a book that said the expectations kill the future. I say the expectations kill the present, because you're so obsessed on the details of what you want, so obsessed over your dream, that you don't give room for different ways for that dream to happen. And this is very concrete. I'll tell you why I somehow am able to handle cancer and not worry too much. I didn't want to have cancer, but once I have it, I'm okay. So it's not that I'm feeling bad because I have it. It's inconvenient, but in a way, I found the clarity uh, to release that expectation of a life without that big difficulty. It happens. It's not my fault. Nobody's fault. It happens. I I I have that clarity with that big event. Still, I do have a lot of expectations, not so much hopes, because I insist on the details of how little things on a daily basis should happen. And if they don't happen the way I want, I get frustrated, and I get easily overwhelmed if the amount of requirements exceeds a certain threshold that I think it's acceptable. Who says it's acceptable? And who says I have to fulfill all these requirements? Who says I cannot disappoint somebody or even myself sometimes? This is, although I say it, this is the clarity that I find a little bit harder to practice. And some of my little obsessions, my little expectations, which for whatever reason do not apply to cancer, are, for example, eating healthy and sleeping 8 hours. If I don't do that, I'll be upset. Whereas, it's legitimate. It may be even a need. I want that. I, you know, hope for that. But if it doesn't happen, oh well, it's uncomfortable. But this additional frustration, and this is the cognitive, the analytical part that helps me uh, come up with a better plan, not just from the desire of what my heart needs, but from reality. And this is where intention meets attention. I want to be realistic because not every day I have a sound good sleep of 8 hours, and that's okay. It's uncomfortable, but that's okay. Or for example, being loved, which is as well a need. We all want to be loved, but not everybody answers to you the way you expect and you want, and it's uncomfortable, but it's okay. It can either be addressed or it cannot, and that's not the end of the world. So these are the daily things. Um, as well, um, I worry like everyone else about having as well a certain income above, beyond, I'm sorry, underneath that threshold. I start to get nervous when in reality things are changing so much. You know, I need so much less. So what is all the fuss about? Um, it's uncomfortable, and if it happens, I will take, whatever measures to address it. So what is the big deal? And then status, being seen, being recognized, and particularly now that I'm throwing this party, I want people to cherish for my party. But the same as I don't totally get, uh, their deep concern. They don't really get that I'm thinking of throwing a party. So well, this is reality. It's imperfect, but it's not so bad, because you know what? Everything changes constantly, and even the obsession with learning and doing it all well is unrealistic, because the mm, the real talent is learning to learn in each circumstance, in each situation that varies. It's not to so much cope with the circumstances, but how we relate to those circumstances. This is where we have the opportunity. We don't have a lot of saying what happens to us in the little or big things that happen to us, but we have a bigger say into how we feel. And if we organize things, doing this attention exercise, starting acknowledging what we want, what we hope for, And this is the third word that I love. We do it with kindness, with an attitude that is not an excess, or it's not too little. And this is as well acknowledging that we are one of many, that even though my circumstances are unique to me, uh, my suffering is not. We all suffer. And I'm so thankful, people are feeling hopeful, but I'm also thankful that somebody said unsettled, or overwhelmed like I did, spread too thinly. That happens as well, and it happens to all of us for different reasons. And of course, we want to address that. It's not that, hey, we celebrate feeling terrible. Not at all. I'd rather not be there, but it's part of the human experience, and very necessary for what? To overcome it. Uh, we may not feel great, and the greatest purpose of that is the lotus flower, to overcome feeling not great. So let's not be in a rush to be there. Let's come from authenticity and accept what we hope. Let's see reality and how we can open up our dreams to make them as flexible as possible, and also be kind with our dreams, in the sense that we don't want to obsess over the details that will suffocate our dreams, but we want to release what is, and then allow it to happen, and understand finally that we are not alone in this experience, that uh, nothing that happens to us is personal, but we have the opportunity, not as an obligation or as a responsibility or as a heavy load, but we can choose to feel a little bit better if we bring a little bit of order to this whole experience. And I think ultimately that is the purpose of living, practicing the experience of life itself. And that's how we make the resolution, with the conviction that it is possible, it is true, that we can overcome the afflicted emotions, that we don't have to stay there, that we can make sense of them, and born the beautiful lotus flower. And this is, and Sia said, one of her favorite sayings is, security is not a matter of what you have, it is a matter of what you can live without. Yes, very good. I realize here that I'm running out of battery, so please give me a minute and I'll um, plug my computer and we'll start the practice. Hold on just a second. I'm gonna stop the recording for a second. In case, uh, so the sound of the bell is for me the transition to this safe space that we share, a space of friendship, of security, where we are about to practice um, how to better live, and what can be done with those emotions that sometimes disturb us. And we start acknowledging the physical space that we occupy, looking around and feeling the ground underneath our bodies, the weight of our bodies, and the solid ground, the earth that contains us and feeds us, nurtures us. That is that is for sure. And on this solid ground, we want to sit up and elongate our back as if reaching for the stars, for our dreams, for heaven, feeling perhaps like if a rope would pull from the crown of our head and connect us in a straight line with the sky, connecting earth and heaven. And the rope releases so the back is not rigid but straight, with the vertebra perfectly aligned one on top of each other. And that also helps us level the shoulders, relax the arms, with the hands resting on our legs or next to our belly, and an open chest that will allow us to do what we do best, breathing, which we do anyway, but we are going to pay very deliberate attention to that now because it's another solid connection with our world, the unlimited supply of air that we breathe in and out. And we empty the lungs. We are going to breathe through our nostrils, slow but gently, and then we inhale with all our might. Receiving that air and allowing it to get to every corner of our body, and then when we cannot inhale anymore, release it with joy, with gentleness, enjoying that part as well. And we inhale and exhale 2 more times. One more time. Realizing that this is the exchange that life contains, taking in, accepting, receiving, and then releasing, offering, letting go. And we can close our eyes or leave them halfway open. And for a moment, remember, what is it that we are doing here? What is it that we want? What do we dream about for this particular practice, for today, for our lives? And very soon we allow these dreams to take the form of reality, and remember or imagine, or perhaps experience right here, right now, a situation that had all those components. And it is probably a situation when we did not worry about anything for an instant, perhaps. So whether joyful or calm, we had that certainty that our dreams were coming true. And we utilize any resource available, the visual details of that situation, sounds, actions, what we were doing, faces of others if there were people there. And bathe ourselves in that connection with somebody or someone in which we became alive, seeing and being seen, recognizing and being recognized. And that gives us the peace that we look for. And let's hold on to those dreams, that hope, because this is the engine, and we want to make it true. We want to bring it to reality again in different circumstances. And we want to do it for ourselves and others that are around us that need that and need our best version of ourselves. And for that, we can start by refining our attention, choosing a single object, a sensation, perhaps one that accompanies the breathing or something else. And you're simply going to rest the attention there for a couple of minutes, celebrating distractions as the opportunities to experiment, to try, to learn what it is to pay attention and what it is not to pay attention. It gives us, and they give us the opportunity to go back to paying attention. And once we have practiced a little bit, the opportunity to redirect and occupy ourselves with something, we are going to actually choose a more complex stimulus, which is reality as it presents. Using that sensation, that stimulus as a gentle guide to the space that it occupies, to the flow of time that it occupies. Now observing not specific content, but the space and everything that colors this space, ever changing. And we're going to practice now, trying not to appraise, not to judge, not to become entangled or to stop anything, but simply be with what is. Listening, observing to all the voices in our head, all the feelings in our heart, without chasing them, without preventing them, or stopping them. We rest this way in that space, in the here and now. And we may experience the serenity of being with what is, or we may feel entangled in some thoughts and feelings, and we can only keep trying to come back. And those are legitimate, both. Those are legitimate experiences of our human lives. And knowing what it is that we would like to conquer, which is not something static, but a dynamic relationship with our events and our minds, and also with others. We're going to formulate with words and concepts a little bit about our plan and go back again to what it is that we want, that desire of security, that feeling of a certainty that there's hope and there will continue to be hope. And we can visualize it as a pearl of white light in our chest. This is our engine, our nurturing moment, our intention. This is the good feelings that many of us shared today. And there is a dark side to that, which is the fear that they will not last, or if we didn't share great feelings, the fear that they will not come. And that is as real as the good feelings themselves. And although uncomfortable, this other side deserves our attention as well. And let's observe it and hold it with as much serenity as we can, like we did a minute ago, the contents of our mental experience. Let's look at despair, at fear. Which presents a great opportunity for us, which is precisely to overcome it. And let's see how we can do that using our analytical skills and perhaps going to a more specific situation in which we felt that distress, we were overwhelmed, or we were worried or scared. And let's go to the details, the circumstances, the images, sounds of that situation. And let's try to observe what it is that was really bothering us. And it is perhaps our own obsession, um, turning the hope into an expectation that is bringing more suffering than what the situation warrants. By us wanting to have that thing we desire at all costs in that very specific way, and right here, right now, or us wanting to avoid that thing that it's very hard to avoid, we are adding a component of obsession and suffering to a reality that has nothing personal against us, and it flows. Sometimes it's favorable and comfortable, sometimes it's not. But that does not translate into happiness or unhappiness, because we know better, we can do better beyond the uncomfortable situations or beyond our inability to keep comfort at all times, at all costs. There's our relationship with that, and bringing perspective over that release us from our dreams and bring us closer to them. So I say it's possible. It's possible to do it over and over again. It's our opportunity, not like an obligation, but it's our choice. And knowing that we are not alone here, all people in this group try their best and struggle. and bringing this kindness and softness to our learning that is not yet another achievement, but the practice of love. We simply commit to keep on doing the best that we can, adding this perspective, this analysis of uncomfortable situation don't bring us down so much, and comfortable situation don't make us obsessive, trying to keep them at all costs. In our search for well-being, for happiness, for true security and balance. And we visualize again that pearl of white light in our chest, which includes not only our desire, our dreams, but also our ability to discern, to pay attention to reality, to bring perspective, and our kindness. And with all those components, this light becomes stronger, bigger in our chest. And it represents the essence of who we are. We are now who we hope to be. And we may accompany this visualization to certain words that we can say to ourselves. I resolve not to become so obsessed over the things that I want or the things that I don't want, and bring perspective. I resolve to chase my dreams in a wise way because I am worth it. I resolve to stand firm on this ground that supports me and reach to heaven by releasing my obsession with heaven. And with that desire for ourselves and all of us in this group, all of the people that we have nearby, that we love, for all of us in the world, and with the willingness to give this practice a try because a lot is at stake. With all that, we conclude. Thank you.